Hey, everybody, welcome to the Outer Belt. I'm Patrick, and you all know my friends.
I'm Chili.
Buttermilk.
I'm Eric.
Zucchini bread.
And Jerry.
Geez, the way you said that, I just was thinking, like, well, we can get you, like, a nice throw or not a moo-moo. That's the wrong
Yeah,
thing. We don't want you in a moo-moo.
No.
A sweater vest, perhaps?
That'd be nice. A
I
sweater
could
vest.
see you in a sweater vest.
Smoking
Yeah.
coat.
A
One of those
smoking
snuggly
jacket.
things.
Yes, we could after you.
Yeah.
Hey, Joanne's has all their fleece on sale.
They do.
Yeah.
They
so
do.
We can make it.
They have a lot
Yes.
of fleece. Holy
Oh,
Toledo.
so
I
many
feel like
f-
most of the store
so
was
many
fleece.
If you
Fleece.
bring your pet in there, you got to
Yeah,
get a fleece
you
shot
really do.
first.
Yep.
Oh.
Sad but true.
Sad.
We might have heard a little rumor about May.
May
May might be their ending period
of what?
of Joanne's.
Oh,
Heather and I went shopping for
that's right.
material for the tutu, for the infamous birthday tutu.
And
Successful.
no, not that. The other thing. And you went shopping for that and
Final.
Oh, and vinyl. Forgot that yes, vinyl, because we've talked about that on another episode.
Yes.
So
records.
I had hit up 2 stores. There's 5 total. On Sunday, Zucchini Bread and I made it a 2-for-1. And we hit up the other 3 stores, which are sort of the northeast to the southeast side. And then we looped around and we caught the one on Broad Street. So we did 4 out of 5 stores on Sunday.
So would you say that you just kind of traveled the outer belt?
We did
To
travel
all
the
the
outer.
different Joanne
Yes, it was
stores?
the outer belt that we.
Nice.
However, when we first started, she didn't put us on the outer belt. She took us some back way, and it was not the back way that I'm used to leaving
It was
from
like
my
the
house to go to
scenic
Polaris.
route.
And
Like-
she is Siri?
She Google Maps.
Okay.
Google Maps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually, she takes me out and then up through Powell, which is just like the little neighboring city, and then straight shot over to Polaris, right on whatever highway that is.
Sure.
743, I think it is. She had me going back streets and
Did you have
And I
avoid
thought
highway?
about that
'Cause-
because we had gone on date night on Saturday where we had actually turned off my GPS to avoid highways because we wanted to take the scenic route. But no, she was
So
off.
you and Zucchini Bread went on a date night.
That's what I
the
heard
night
too.
before.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry.
How was it?
Vince and I went on date night
Oh.
on Saturday night. Zucchini Bread and I went Joanne shopping on Sunday. But anyways, a very unique route she took us to get to the northeast section of the outer belt, and it avoided the freeway.
What
But,
I had,
but the
what,
remainder of it was all the outer belt.
what I understood was that Google Maps, the AI, has gotten smarter, and so you were playing the song "Makes Me Want to Take a Dirt Road,"
Yeah.
and then you followed that with "Dirt Road Anthem" or whatever the other one is, and it just got confused.
Well, and Heather and I both talked about that. I'm like, maybe she thinks I'm still on there and hasn't quite gotten off of avoid highways because I did turn it off. But
There were Mushy love songs on the radio, so maybe it still thought there was
I had
carryover from the
I
night
had Yacht
before.
Rock on, which Vince and I didn't even listen to Yacht Rock on our date night. We listened to Murder Mystery, Sword and Scale. So I don't know how she could think I was still on a date. As one does when you're on a date night, you listen to
A murder podcast.
murder
about
podcast.
how to kill your significant other
Exactly.
Yep.
and get away with it.
Exactly.
But they never get away with it.
No,
Ever.
they don't.
That's
No.
the
They
secret.
don't,
Yeah.
no.
No.
Well, if they got away with it, then they wouldn't have much of a podcast, would they?
No. But anyway, Joanne's is we heard they still have a lot of backlog in their main warehouses. So
Ah,
for
so they're
those
still
of you that are
clearing out.
interested in Joanne's, we got a little bit of time.
Cool.
Don't wait though.
And so we're going down to the Mid-America Truck Show this week, which, if you're listening to this show, we've actually already been to the Mid-America Truck Show.
Yeah.
have.
But are we going to hit every single Joanne's between here and
No.
Louisville as
I don't
planned?
think so. I think I have enough.
Vinyl?
Oh, vinyl?
We actually found 2 rolls of vinyl in storage today.
That you forgot you had?
No, I knew they were there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I knew they were there.
Is that the right kind of vinyl or is that the cupboard vinyl? No, that is probably the right vinyl. I don't know. How often are seats going to need to be repaired?
Oh, well.
I mean, we've done it 3 times in the 3 years
I'll-
we've been off the road, and then
Zucchini Bread, can you go grab my crystal ball?
Yeah.
so I don't know. I
Yeah.
did grab one extra color that isn't really in the repertoire, but I thought maybe it might be. It's kind of a gray.
Could be fun.
I got gray, just plain gray. This was a gray that was kind of a weird color, but I'm like, Heather just sent me a picture of blue cushions, bright blue. And I said, I don't know that I've ever been in that truck or
I
seen
don't
that
think you
truck.
have.
Is it
That's
the
a
Western
relatively new
Star?
truck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Western
Yeah.
Star
So
has a blue
That's
table, so
that's
it,
a very
you know, the dinette
old.
matches.
It's a very old color scheme.
it's like sky blue. Well, not even sky.
Like-
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not quite royal blue.
No,
It's
it's like
blue.
it's like a cross between royal blue and
It's
sky
like-
blue.
Yeah, it's like that blue.
That's great for the radio show.
Yeah, that's great for the listeners.
Yeah.
So we it's
But-
an old color scheme. We actually had a truck. Our third truck we bought. Our third truck we bought was this same blue color scheme, and it was a 2009.
I think you talked about that.
I want
Yeah,
to
because
say
you called it Big Blue or
we
something.
called it blue. Yep, that was the
Blue.
name of the truck. It was blue. So that was the surprise when I saw this truck, and we walked inside, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
what a throwback! And it's a 2022 or whatever. It's a newer
But I think
truck.
that
so.
the material, the vinyl that I purchased for stock, I think, the grays, the tans,
Yeah.
black, I think somewhere something will eventually match.
Well, and if we never have to use it, we can always make like pillows,
Yeah.
vinyl pillows for
Yeah,
use outdoors,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all weather pillows.
all weather pillows.
Yeah.
But I also think maybe
Oh, for your patio seats and stuff,
Yeah,
you could do
there you go.
that.
some of the trucks are not so brand new, so maybe that wear and tear is happening.
Yes,
So maybe more seats might need to be replaced or not replaced, refurbished,
it's possible.
repaired.
It's possible.
Freshened.
You know, a lot of times too, when people hear us talk about recovering these seats, it's because they take the vinyl and they may put a fancy something in
Seam, usually
seam or
it's a
something in
seam.
there, and that'll bust, and then
Yeah.
it's ripped, so you can't resew it, and it's just it's just something we deal with.
Yeah.
But
We got stock.
I like it. I like it.
Yep, we're prepared.
And we're not really out that much money because a lot of it's on sale, right?
It was at 40%, I believe.
40% off.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Most of the entire store was at 40%. Some of their like candles and decorations and their
Yeah.
home decor was still at 20, but most of the material was at 40.
I wonder what their actual cost on that kind of stuff is.
Mm. The one store had zero thread. And most of Joanne's, if you've ever been in Joanne's, have like huge circular like kiosk of thread displays
Yes.
and like a triangular both sides,
Mm-hmm.
all your different kinds,
These are like a whole
silk,
big
whatever,
aisle of
embroidery. Yeah. and
Thread.
we went and I think 2 of the 4 stores had zero thread.
I remember going to Joanne's as a kid with my mom, and people are like, "Well, y'all talked about this already." And we would go over, and we'd have to find the right Run DMC number,
Yes.
and that was always fun for me to have to like search through this wall of Run DMC, and you find the right one. You're like, "I got it! I got it!"
Yeah. What were you going to say, Vince? Oh, you had a thought
I did.
about Joanne's. 20%, 40%, no thread.
Oh, I was going to say, at this point, the inventory in Joanne's has been sold to a liquidator. So it's no longer the Joanne's company like selling the stuff. They sell all their inventory to a liquidation company that then comes in and sells it, and they make as much as they can profit from what they bought the stuff from Joanne's for.
Sure.
So
They did have like a 2-yard minimum on.
Oh,
fabric.
Most
most for
of-
2 yards.
I saw a couple that were 3 yards, but I don't know what. Maybe that might have been like the upholsteries,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But all of the regular
Yeah.
bolted fabric was a 2-yard minimum. No returns, no personal checks, no gift cards. All the things you're doing when you're going out of business.
Yeah, Mel was telling me too that she saw something in the Joanne stores, a sewing machine of some sort, and that when you go to the manufacturer's website, the MSRP was less than what Joanne said their normal price was. So she said they're marking things up
Just
to the regular price to then discount them, so you think you're getting a good deal on it.
Mm.
So
Yeah. I think we only saw one store out of all of them that had sewing machines. They all
there
had
were a
some-
couple.
They all had something different. Like they were stocked with things different. One out of the 4 stores, there was literally a 45-minute wait to get just your material cut. The others,
That could have been the time of day that we got there. There was
yeah.
like a prime middle of
So-
the day.
I still think
That's the best time to get your fabric cut.
in the
Is
prime
the
of the
middle,
day.
Prime of the
prime in
day.
the middle. We all
Yeah.
know that, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Now, if you go subprime,
Yeah.
much easier.
Because like the first place we went was still early. They had just opened.
Yeah.
There was hardly anybody there
People are still at
sleeping.
breakfast,
Yeah.
Oh,
Sure.
Especially
sure.
on a Sunday church, whatever.
church,
Sunday brunch.
Sunday brunch, Sunday
It was
supper.
a successful
yeah.
Sunday outing.
It
They,
sounds fun.
could have been at the dirt track.
Could have been
Sunday.
Monster Jam.
Yeah.
Did they? Did y'all go get coffee? I'm
We
assuming?
did.
We
Yeah.
did.
Where'd you go?
Sweetwater's. Coffee
Really?
and tea
Okay. Well,
in Polaris.
Yeah.
I know. I was a little disappointed too, but
Yeah.
she still, we
we
still
have
got
this
coffee.
really good place here in Columbus. It's a boutique place. It's Starbucks, and it is fantastic.
Very
I've heard
consistent.
Very
Very
consistent,
consistent.
yes.
Yeah.
Everyone I've been to tastes exactly like the last
Mhm.
one.
Theirs was good. I could have used more ice. For some reason, in a iced Americano, we don't use enough ice. So when I get it, to
Is it
my,
always that way, or
I've noticed,
We've had a couple. We had one Saturday that was that way.
because you and I did it
Mhm.
coffee date.
so?
Different
It's
place.
more of a chilled
Different place,
Americano, not an
yeah.
iced Americano.
Yeah.
Like by the time you get it, you only have 3 little half ice cubes
Now,
floating. in
if
a
you can
few
never
ice.
find a good Americano, what does that say?
Well, we have found one.
One.
We found good Americanos. we
We've had a
found bad
couple.
Americanos. I asked Melissa, I said, are we just coffee ignorant because we don't like the way
Oh.
these really popular places, popular local places make their coffee? Is it just us being we like regular coffee as opposed to this fancy stuff?
Well, most people are getting all the syrups and the
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
covering up
whipping
the
cream,
yeah,
and so
bitter.
you don't even taste the coffee.
Correct.
Whereas we're doing just iced
Coffee.
espresso with
Yeah,
heavy
water.
cream on it.
No, I agree. I think that's the case because I drink, a lot of times I'll just get espresso, like
Right.
Yeah.
nothing else. I'm not even getting the cream. Like give me your shot of espresso. Don't put a lid on it. I'm gonna just pound it as soon as I get it. And so many of these places have really bad espresso. But if you get a chocolate mocha sippy Winn Dixie,
Right.
then you can't tell. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
This
You're-
is really good chocolate.
it really is. And what's funny is when you go to all these places, they're all using the exact same
Syrups.
syrups and everything. So it's always like, okay, well, all you did was really just kind of change a feature here
Yeah.
or something. Well, last week we were talking about a bunch of different things, and we mentioned that we had run out of time, unfortunately, because we had such an interesting conversation going on that we weren't able to talk about trucks. And I said, you know what, this week, let's go ahead and start with that. Let's get that out of the way. That way we don't, again, run over. So we've been talking last year, at the end of last year, we were talking a little bit about the story of Highfield, why we do the things we do, how we came to the truck specs and all these different things. And so I kind of wanted to keep writing that out a little bit more about truck specs and kind of a semi-controversial thing that we do on our trucks, and that is we, with the exception of 3 trucks, we put lift gates on every single one of our trucks. So a lift gate, if you don't know, that's the big platform on the back of the truck that enables you to take a pallet from the ground and bring it up to the air to make it level with the back of the truck, and then you can take a pallet jack and bring your cargo on into the truck. And if you look at our 2 big carriers, FedEx and Panther, on FedEx, most of the FedEx trucks you see have them. And if you look at Panther, most do not.
Correct.
So
Outside of our fleet.
outside of our fleet. So the question becomes, why do
Why?
we do that? And what's the benefits, right? So at FedEx, where we got started back in 2012, if you ran a dry box, which means you don't have a reefer unit on your truck, they didn't require a liftgate. This was 4 bars and 6 straps. Was all the equipment you're required to have. and you could take that and go run car parts and all this stuff. No big deal. Once you stepped up into their temperature validated fleet, at the time, they actually had it broken out between white glove and surface freight. Surface freight was generic car parts and things like that. White glove was um, more hands-on stuff, right? So back in those days, you could actually be a white glove dry van or a white glove temperature control truck, T-val truck. And so Eric and I um, were we got in the white glove. So we started with a service truck, then we got into a dry van, no lift gate, very basic. Then we got into the reefer freight, so we got into white glove that way in the reefer business. And then the next truck we bought was a dry van white glove truck, and we operated that. Had a lift gate, we had pallet jacks, we had plenty, like 10 load bars, 12 straps, 24 blankets back in those days.
Wow.
Tripod dollies and furniture dollies, like a lot of equipment in the trucks. And remember those days?
I do.
And we had a lot of customers at that point that used a lot of that stuff. We had casino customers, so we were doing slot machine runs all across America. Don't require temperature control, but they require a lot of hands-on care. We were doing government freight. We were doing a lot of chemical air gas, those kind of places, moving dewars and cylinders and all that stuff. And so it was really a good business to be in, where you could also haul the car parts and everything, but you could then haul this additional freight. And so that was what we did. But part of the white glove requirements were a lift gate. You had to have one. So that is kind of how we started down that road of, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and start making sure we have lift gates on our trucks. Because for the white glove side of FedEx, it was required. Now, a few years ago, FedEx changed what they did, and they pretty much got rid of using the white glove name, surface name. Now it's pretty much dry and reefer freight. So they have temperature validated freight and they have dry freight, and that's the way they differentiate themselves now. So there's not really any more white glove dry van trucks. And they are still mandating that if you run a T-val truck, which is temperature validated, which is a temperature controlled truck, and mostly used for pharmaceuticals, that equipment has to have a liftgate on it.
Wow.
So when we went to Panther and started that process up, we looked at how do we want to spec out the trucks, right? We know we want to work with Panther. We're going to build trucks specifically for them because Panther doesn't really do temperature freight on their dry side. I mean, on their straight truck side, they only really do dry freight. So we were like, all right, we want to come over to Panther. We want to come in with a bang, and we want to differentiate ourselves by something. What is it? So we chose to go a couple different ways. Well, first and foremost, custom sleepers. I think that's pretty much what we're known for in the industry. Is all of our
Yes.
trucks have custom sleepers on them, and they're really nice trucks. So that was one thing we did because that wasn't standard back then. It's still not standard today. There's still a lot of factory sleepers at Panther.
A lot of them.
But there's more custom sleepers than there used to be. We committed to doing heavy duty trucks. So these are trucks with 3 axles instead of 2 axles. And then we looked at the liftgate situation and decided we already have liftgate trucks in our fleet. We already know how they run. Let's give it a shot at Panther for a couple different reasons. One is to open up freight opportunities at Panther outside of automotive freight. So this does open up to trade shows. They do some of that air gas type stuff where you can pick up cylinders and
Sure.
move things around. They do work with some of the auction houses that require it. So Panther does have a need for it. So we're like, all right, there's not many of them and they have a need. Let's provide that need. And the second thing that really helped us out with it is Panther pays a little extra on your rate per mile if you have a liftgate. And so because of that, we looked at it and ran the numbers and basically said about 2.5 years into the truck, that extra pays for the liftgate. So it's kind of a win-win, right? Like
Wow.
our teams make a little bit more money for every mile they run because we have that liftgate on the truck. And in 2.5 years, it's ran enough miles that the liftgate's paid for. So it didn't really cost us extra. We put the money up front, but we recouped it back.
Sure.
and we're able to haul that freight that no one else is able to haul. So that's how we started, and that is the reason we put lift gates on our trucks at Panther. A few years in, we did move and built several 2-axle trucks at Panther, not 3-axle. Still put the lift gates on them, and had pretty good success for that for a while. We still think that there's more market in the 3-axle trucks, so we went back to that, back to the 3-axle trucks after experimenting with the 2-axles for a while. And we did do some, actually relatively recently, was it beginning of this year, end of last year? I think it was end of last year, we did some non-liftgate trucks. So we have 3 non-liftgate
Yeah.
trucks over at Panther, and right now I can't tell you how they're doing versus the liftgate fleet because we don't have enough data,
Yeah,
right?
this hasn't been long enough.
Hadn't been long enough.
Yeah.
So, I really need a good year of information to know how it compares. But right now, we do have those trucks out there running. We're not really getting complaints. Those trucks haven't come back to us.
No, they haven't.
They're still out there running, which is a good sign. If the
Yeah.
truck hadn't come back.
Yeah.
So we are, and it's only because we want to tap into the automotive freight. And when I say that, you might be thinking like, well, if a truck's got a lift gate, why can't it haul automotive freight?
Excellent question, Patrick.
And Vince, I think you would be best person to answer this since you had to deal with this when you and your lovely lady were running the roads for Panther.
Yeah. So the biggest issue with automotive freight is when you pick up or deliver at a automotive facility. When you go to any loading dock, most loading docks these days, they have an arm that actually comes out from the ground. It raises up and grabs onto your bumper.
It's mechanical.
This mechanical arm that locks onto your bumper, so the truck can't pull away from
The dock.
the dock, right? Well, with lift gates, you don't have that bumper because it's taken off to put the lift gate on for the arm to lock into.
Correct.
Now, some places, they get a supervisor with the key and they can override that. So if you drive a truck, you know what the little box looks like where they control the arm and the door. If you don't, there's a box inside the door that has buttons. You raise the arm, or you raise the door, and you raise the arm. And if the arm can't latch onto something, it never gives a green light inside to allow someone to go onto your truck.
Yeah.
And in a lot of places, it is against their policy for someone to go into the truck without a green light showing on their side. So sometimes places, they talk to you, can you dump your airbags, drop your landing gear,
Chalk
and then
your
they'll
wheels.
chalk your wheels, and then some places they want your keys as well
Yeah.
to make sure you don't drive away before they're ready for you to. So some places they'll call supervisor over, they'll make sure you're doing those things. They'll use their key to override the box and allow their people to go inside and either unload or load your truck. So there are some facilities that will not take a truck with a liftgate and no IC bumper. They will just flat out refuse to take your truck. Whether they're loading you or unloading you, they just will refuse. They do not allow any override at all. So in those instances, or in a lot of instances where we might get a dispatch that says no lift gates.
Yeah.
And we'd have to call dispatch and say, well, I've got a lift gate. And there were some where they knew they'd override it and others where they didn't. And we didn't lose. I think we may have lost one load because we had a lift gate.
Well,
that we were
that
aware of,
that you're aware
right?
of. Correct. Yeah.
But we had plenty of other loads that it didn't bother us. We weren't thinking, am I not getting freight because I have a lift gate? We just
Yeah.
didn't know because we just didn't get the offers. We had one load where we got the load offer sent to us. It said no lift gate. We called before we took the load and said, hey, it says no lift gate, and we lost that load. But, it didn't hurt us a whole lot overall. But to have access to that freight would be great if we didn't have a lift gate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on the other hand, we had access to loads that required a lift gate,
A lot of them.
a lot of them, and we could maximize those loads because a lot of times those loads came with either a hand unload or a hand load
Yes.
using our lift gate, and we could maximize our income on those loads because now you need my labor in my lift gate. Let's talk.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it's definitely a bargaining chip for sure. and that's what we've seen throughout the years of the Liftgate service. Is it gives you the opportunity to maybe get a little extra bump in revenue on
Sure.
labor, and of course Highfield pays the labor to the teams.
100%.
So yeah, so it's a little bit nicer to get more of that money, like just the quantity of loads, and plus, like what I like about Panther is they're not dumb, so they know if I've got a truck, that I need a truck in Dallas, Texas. No, New York City. I got to pick a load up from New York City. There's an auction house up there. I need a liftgate. They look at their board. There's no liftgate trucks anywhere near New York City. But they'll look and they'll see that, like, all right, well, this truck's sitting in Laredo. I've got these loads coming out, and this load goes to Pennsylvania. It goes to
Yeah.
Philadelphia. It goes to
Yeah,
Philly.
it was Philly.
Let me get that liftgate truck on this load.
Right.
Get them up there, and then they'll be available to do that load.
Sure.
And sometimes, whether or not they'll admit it, I don't know. But sometimes that bumps you to the top of the list.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
maybe you're really the fifth person out that day, but because we need that truck
Mm-hmm.
in New York, you just became the first person out
With
Sure.
the lift gate.
on a long load.
Yeah.
They do the same thing with hazmat.
Yes.
That's why we
Yes,
encourage
they
all
do.
of our drivers to get hazmat if they don't have it.
Yep.
They pay a little extra per mile, and they will absolutely move your truck if they need you for a hazmat load somewhere else.
We had that happen with one of the teams we mentored. They were sitting in Castaic at the pilot there in Castaic, and they were talking with
What state is that? California?
California.
Okay,
Sorry, yeah, just
sorry.
north of Los Angeles off I-5. Sorry, they were talking with another Panther team. It wasn't a Highfield team, but another Panther team, and the other team was number 1 on the board. They were number 2 on the board, and as they're talking to the team, they got a phone call with a load offer. It wasn't hazmat, didn't require liftgate. And the other team's like, well, why are you getting that call? We're sitting here side by side.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out their next load was a hazmat load, and Panther was moving the hazmat team closer to that load.
Yep.
So, yeah, they were not number 1. Panther does things differently now as far as how they dispatch and
Correct.
load board position. But it worked out for them that they had the qualifications for that second load, and they got paid to get to that second load.
Yeah, absolutely. Those little things make a huge difference.
Oh, sure.
And
Sure.
we get a lot of pushback on, like, I don't want to get a hazmat. It's just a bunch of money. And then do I really want to haul hazardous freight? Well, the one thing I'll say about Panther versus FedEx is Panther doesn't haul anything nasty.
Right.
Everything is very basic flammable, which is pretty safe. I mean, most of that stuff that Panther hauls, even if you get in a wreck, you're not really, choose my words carefully, you're not really like in danger.
Of
It's more
exposure.
of exposure. It's
Yeah.
more of you just need to know to, like, tell people don't approach your truck.
Yes,
And when
exactly.
fire
Exactly.
services get there, let them know, hey, this chemical's on my truck, so they can handle it. FedEx, on the other hand, totally different story.
Mhm.
They handle nasty.
Mm-hmm.
So I get some of the trepidation there, but again, both carriers are non-force dispatch. So you see something you don't like,
Right.
don't take
No,
the load.
thank you. We get trucks back sometimes, and they'll have a stack of extra hazmat placards, and I look at the FedEx ones, and I'm like, yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, I
I'm
got
good.
very comfortable with it because that's what we did so much
Sure.
of it over at FedEx. And you
Sure.
just you follow the PPE, you
Mm-hmm.
follow the rules. When you have poison inhalation hazards in your truck, you open the box while you're standing upwind of the door. You do, like, if you do everything right, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Again, the nice thing about Panther is they don't have all that stuff.
My-
And the reason I'm talking specifically about Panther versus FedEx is Panther is the one that's really good about deadheading and routing a team to where they need
Yes.
to go. Not deadheading, but giving them loaded miles.
Right.
FedEx doesn't do any of that stuff. It's a much screwier situation. Panther's much better about this than FedEx is.
Mhm.
And I love FedEx, don't get me wrong, but this is one area that Panther kills FedEx. To circle back to the liftgate thing,
Yeah.
that's one reason why we've kept them and why I've kept putting them on trucks. We did, Panther did tell us they're getting a little more automotive freight, and so that's why we are experimenting with those non-liftgate trucks to see how that compares revenue-wise. But there's still a good amount of demand for the liftgate freight, which is why we're still putting them
Sure.
on the trucks.
Yeah.
The other thing that is one of the reasons why we're experimenting with the know liftgate trucks is when we first started buying these trucks, a liftgate was $6,000 or so
Okay.
installed, and today they're bumping 12 grand.
Yeah.
Like they've literally doubled in price
Wow.
since we started doing it. So yeah, it'd be a nice thing. I will say this for liftgate technology, it's come a long way. The liftgates we put on today are galvanized steel beams with aluminum
Decks.
decks.
Yeah.
So in 5 years, they look brand new. They
Yeah,
look
they do.
great.
They
They
really
look
do.
awesome.
Yeah.
Those old school, like we just got rid of one. Your old truck, we just said bye to y'all's
did.
first truck.
We
Aw.
did.
But that truck had the old fashioned, Jerry, do you remember these? They were the black steel decked lift gates. So like
layman or whatever.
you know what I mean? Like when you opened them up, it was black steel. It wasn't aluminum. And after like 2 years of being on the road, they were just covered in rust.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, you never had one like
No,
that?
I didn't.
Child.
Hmm?
Spoiled rotten.
When you go to unfold it, you got to get your whole body weight into it to unfold 'cause they were so heavy.
They're so heavy, and they
Yeah.
have that little lip on them right away,
Mhm.
right? They like you immediately have to like go up like a little 2-inch
Yeah.
hump
To get
on
onto the deck,
to get
yeah.
onto the deck. So we moved to aluminum very quickly after getting these steel lift gates. It was a couple of years, like we might have built 5, if even that, 4 or 5 with these steel decks, and we were like, we hate the black ones. How much would it be if we went to aluminum decking instead of having that black steel? And it was dirt cheap. It was like nothing. And I'm like, oh, I wish I would have known this ahead of time.
Yeah.
So we moved to those. Yes,
Sorry. Does that help with weight as well?
it does. Yes, those aluminums are quite a bit lighter than the steel decks, and you could tell when you open them and close them.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's quite a big difference, which is good for the truck because it means you can haul more freight, right? So we did that. So we have a bunch of gates that are the aluminum decks, but they've got the black iron arms
Supports. Yeah.
supports.
Yeah.
And then it was probably 4 years ago that they came out with a galvanized option for those supports. So now our gates are galvanized steel, which is that kind of not white, silvery looking, I don't know,
Yeah. It's
telephone
silver.
pole looking thing.
Silver. Yeah.
And then they have the aluminum gates, and that's my favorite combination so far. They again, 5 years from now, they look, or I guess 4 years, they look brand
Yeah,
new.
they
They
do.
look like they
They
were doing
really
one.
do.
Now, their cart stops may not work. We may have to get a couple things. The little we put the remotes on them, so like if you are standing next to the gate, you can raise and lower it with the switch.
Right.
But if you like someone's in the back of the truck, they can actually operate it with the remote, and it's a wired remote, and those things get corroded.
They do.
That
I've repaired more than a few.
yeah, we've gotten quite good at it.
Yeah.
And so those things got to get replaced every now and then, but the actual gate itself looks great, and that's such a big boost when you are using it. It's not covered in rust.
Right.
Because even on that black steel, a lot of that rust would eventually eat through the metal, but it wouldn't right away. It just looked ugly. Like it's
Right.
not structurally damaged.
No, it's just
It's
the
hideous.
presentation is horrible.
Yeah, and you're loading, a 200-pound dewar of helium or something like that on this rusty liftgate. It just looks funny. That's all I'm saying. So I'm really happy with our liftgate game right now. We've experimented. We did Layman's. We've done Waltco's. We have 2 Maxons that are brand new. I'm anxious to see how those go.
They're brand new to us.
They're brand new to us.
Yeah.
They're a couple years old.
They are.
Um,
Couple of paw fingers.
couple pal fingers. Yeah,
fingers.
pal fingers. So we've experimented.
There's a lot of manufacturers out there of lift gates, huh?
Yeah.
There are. So
Yeah.
Maxon and Waltco are probably the biggest.
I was about to say they can haul the most weight, right, compared to layman.
So it depends on what you buy. All these manufacturers have
Different levels.
different levels of gates.
Yeah.
And actually, the 2-cylinder layman can haul 4,500 pounds, whereas a Waltco can only hold 4,000. Now that being said, having worked a liftgate quite a few times, I never want 4,000 pounds of a
No.
liftgate.
Oh yeah.
No.
That's way too much for one person to
Yes, it
control. If it
is.
gets loose, it'll run you over.
Yeah.
Like
It's a lot of weight.
that's a lot of weight. You don't need anything like that. But those Waltcos, I like a whole lot better than the Layman's because you ever driven behind a liftgate or a truck with a liftgate, and you see that the black tube and there's that shiny metal piece that comes out of it, and it's just like while the gate is tucked away and closed, you see that pretty shiny piece of aluminum or piece of steel. Waltco does it the other way around. So when a Waltco is collapsed, you don't see that shiny piece of silver. All you see is the little black tube, and the silver comes out when it actually is being used.
Right.
And so what this does is it keeps all the road grime and salt and everything off of
that tube.
that actual tube, which
Yeah.
is raising and lowering it. So it's way more reliable, nowhere near as many breakdowns. Layman's, having all that exposed, we replace cylinders all the time with Layman. And their customer service was terrible. I mean, they made a really great gate. It was a solid gate. They were fairly reliable, but we did have to replace those cylinders quite a few times. And I mean, they're probably $600-700 a cylinder, so you don't really want to replace them. Whereas the Waltcos, very rarely do we have to replace a
Yeah.
cylinder. So that's why we've kind of stuck with Waltco. Even though it is a little bit less capacity gate, who cares?
Again, we're
It's
not using
more
that
than
much.
enough.
I mean, we had 2,500 pound gate on our truck.
Yes, we have 25.
I think all of our trucks had 2,500 pound gates, and you're rarely getting that much weight on one skid.
Yeah.
Or a long skid even. So
yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's just.
I mean, if you're putting two skids on there, you might get up there, but chances are, if the skids are that heavy, they're using a forklift on a dock.
Absolutely.
Not very often you're taking that much weight off on
Yeah.
a lift gate.
We had
with a
one
pallet jack.
time. It was a art sculpture thing, and it was about as long as a box.
Okay.
So we were able to get it loaded with forklift, but they didn't have the dock.
Yeah.
When we unloaded, so
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah.
And because we do put the lift gates on, we do put pallet jacks in the trucks.
Right.
We do put the dollies in.
Yep.
We don't necessarily do the tripod dollies, although I think we have a few
We
floating
have a
out
few
there.
floating out there, but we don't
Buy them
we don't
anymore.
buy them anymore. No.
We do put the 10 bars in there.
Yep.
We put the dozen straps, so that they're equipped for if you do go to a trade show where they're going to load you up with a bunch of boxes that are just randomly placed.
Mhm.
You can strap them down easily, or if you do an art thing, or if you do an auction thing. That maybe you have to have a pallet or a blanket for or something.
Yeah.
We don't do the 24 blankets anymore.
Well, we do a dozen.
We do a dozen. We step that down because you get to a point where even at a dozen, it's super rare you'd use
More than a few.
More than a
Yeah.
few.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, one of FedEx's customers, it was a slot machine customer. They were ones that, man, they would use every blessed blanket, which makes sense. If you're
Sure.
hauling slot machines, that stuff's got to look pretty in a casino. It
Yep.
cannot have a blemish on
We
it,
can't
right?
have a
Sure.
blemish.
So they use tons of blankets. But that was really the only customer I could think of. Jerry, did you ever have any besides that not used blankets, period? Because we had a lot that used blankets, but used that number of them.
It was rare, but there were times that we did art loads where we
Oh.
had to use every single blanket, every strap, every bar.
Is that one of those where they would do the truck pack of this box had to go with it right here because if we didn't do it exactly
Absolutely.
right, it wouldn't fit?
The one that's coming to mind is we did a load to this huge mansion in Beverly Hills, and that truck was packed from nose to end.
Yeah.
They had to get it in there a certain way, and
Tetris, huh?
everything was used. I mean, we even had to go buy more straps because they needed more to
Wow.
make sure that we had enough to get everything
Yeah.
to where it went. And then I remember I had to go up the road at the bottom of the Hollywood sign.
Oh.
And whenever I went to the driveway, the only way to get it into the driveway was to back the truck up this long driveway that had two bins in it and then park. And then luckily, whenever I got everything up there, we didn't have to touch nothing though, because they had
Yeah.
movers and people that was categorized everything as they took it into the house and all that stuff. But yeah, we had to use everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
We we had a load one time we got dispatched on required 15 straps. The dispatch said you need 15 straps.
Yep.
No problem. I stopped by TA, grabbed some extra straps, so I had the straps, and we used 4.
Yeah.
You know, it's
My-
like,
that would
thanks.
happen a lot.
Yep. Not
I,
very,
I would use blankets a lot too, just to protect. If I had to strap something, I'd put the blanket between the cargo and the strap buckle, so we wouldn't have anything just get damaged.
absolutely.
That's
We
definitely
had a-
something we had to worry about with slot machines.
But we had a load one
Buckles on the
time
glass.
where I did that on a big crate, and we get to the other side, and they had like 3 engineers and a bunch of other people that worked this place come out to inspect the crate before it came off the truck, and they were making notes about everything. It was,
Yeah.
one of those. And I was like, I'm glad I put that blanket in there to protect that strap, because this would have been a huge deal. So
We did some stuff for NASA back in the day, and they were like that. They were super strict on all that stuff. Like you would be securing it, but they would be overseeing your securement to make sure that you were securing it properly.
yeah,
And
I would
It was
always
fun
get a
times.
kick out of those that I understand, because it's really, really important, and you'd
sure.
have like these scientists and everybody come out, and they worked on this stuff for years or whatever, and I understood why they were doing exactly what you were just describing. But I'd always get a kick, because then you get to the other end and it'd be one person, they
Didn't
would like
care.
just jerking off the
Yeah,
truck,
Yep.
and
exactly.
Yep.
it's like
Exactly.
okay.
that
Yeah.
happened to
Exactly.
us. We did one up at a certain place. I'm sure we've all been. It's a breathtakingly beautiful NASA site in the mountains, and we had a safety meeting outside the truck. Like, the truck doors were open. We had to go drive all the way in the building. There was no loading this outside. Inside the building, doors are open. We're all standing there. We go through a safety briefing. Everybody knows what they're doing, right? All the stuff. It's one box. Goes in the dead center of the truck, and we strap it on. Put the with the furniture pads. We do the load bars and all that stuff, right? But I mean, everybody like, okay, Mr. Forklift Operator, so you're going to do this step, and this step, and then once it's inside the back of the truck, this person's going to pallet jack it to here, and then
Right.
when you get the pallet jack out, you have to do this and that. It's like everything was so to the T, and then we get to, like, I don't know, one of the space launch pad sites across the country, and it was exactly that. They came in there with a JLG boom lift
Yeah.
and grabbed it out, and we're like, all right, y'all have a good day. Like,
Yep.
no inspection of the box,
Yep.
no making sure it was fine, nothing.
I feel on the load that Vince is talking about, it wasn't so high level on one end, and then we
No,
carted
on
it
one
from
end,
East
not at
Coast
all.
to West Coast.
Yeah.
Like jarring roads,
Yeah, that's how it was for us.
whatever.
Yep.
And then we get to the other end, and Vince is like, we had to have a safety meeting,
We
debriefing.
did
Who's
beforehand.
touching what?
Yep.
Who's doing this? What
Yep.
strap's coming off first, left or right, whatever. You know,
Yeah.
like it was
And-
highly volatile, and I'm like, which it may not have been, but that was their persona of it. And in my head, I'm thinking, we just did 2,800 miles on non-bumpy roads. Have you ever been on a interstate?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you're all acting like,
Exactly.
this thing needs to be taken off with, kid gloves and
Yep.
feathers and a pillow of this, and don't breathe the wrong way. And
Yeah.
it was very unique. And it took longer to get it off than it
Did-
felt like it took to drive the whole drive.
Did y'all ever do the crates with the shock sensors?
Oh
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, and the tilt
Yes.
sensors
And the tilt
Yeah.
sensors and all that? That
Oh.
stressed me out. I had to. I had a. I don't know if it was tilt or shock. I had one of those sensors. We show up at a air forwarder to pick the truck up or pick the cargo up. It's a big box. It's a big box. I mean, it's 6 foot tall, 4 foot by 4 foot. It's a big box, and the sensor's already messed up. And I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
I
No,
took a
thank you.
picture of it,
Yep.
and they refused to document it. And I sent it out to FedEx, and I had to we sat there for hours waiting on the customer on the end that was receiving this,
Yeah.
which had already gone home for the day because we're on the West Coast. Sat there for hours while I chased someone down to get them to approve us taking it, because FedEx is like, I'm not taking that liability,
Yeah.
and I don't blame them. I didn't want to take it either because we share in that cargo claim. I'm like, no. This
We had
was
one
wrong.
that had to be replaced before we could leave. Same thing when they were putting it on the truck, they
Jostled
joggled
it.
it,
Yep.
whatever, and so they're like, "Oh crap!" So they had to
You know, and
redo
it
it.
goes to show just how well the airbags are on these trucks.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you think we would always get those loads with the shock sensors and stuff, and it's like going across country and you're bouncing and you're rocking and you see that box behind you tilting like this, and you just know everything is going to be all
Everything's
blown
flashing
out.
when you get there.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then you open it up and everything's fine.
Yeah.
The driver, the cab of our trucks, the driver's seat's the most uncomfortable spot in the truck. It's sad to say, but it's true. If you look at like an entertainer coach, so like the rock stars, the country artists traveling around the country, when they are going down the road, where are those people sitting? In the very back of the bus, in the lounge, or in the back where their sleep where their bed is or whatever. You've got four wheels, or I guess 8 wheels under you. You've
Right.
got 2 axles. You've got multiple airbags. They ride super smooth. That's why that space is back there. Our back of our trucks is the exact same way. Now, if you go to the very back of the box, if you just put something on the very back of the box, you get a little bit of that back of the bus, back of the school bus feeling.
Right.
But even that's different. Like when I was back when I was a kid, back when I was a kid, my parents used to always be like, back when we were kids, our seats didn't have cushion and we had rust spots so we could see right through the floor, and the bus driver was smoking, grinding gears or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that I didn't have that. But we didn't have air conditioning on the bus. We did have heat, but not air conditioning, which is great in South Louisiana where you need heat and not air conditioning. But our school buses didn't have air ride suspensions.
No.
They had just leaf springs. So you were in the back of the bus, you hit a bump, you'd hit the dang ceiling and fall back down and laugh hysterically.
Yeah.
Right.
You'd be landing halfway on someone, just whatever. It's so fun. Nowadays, all these buses have air ride suspensions, and I'm like, these kids will never get the joy
Yeah. Of hitting
of
their
being
head on the
flung
ceiling.
in
Yeah.
going over a railroad track a little too fast.
Yeah.
They'll never get to experience that.
They need to go down a gravel road without seatbelts.
Oh yeah. No. Yes. Exactly. But no.
Yeah.
So our cargo gets the premium spot, which makes sense. That's where they make the money.
We had a load one time that requested air ride truck. And we get there, and the guy's like, "You got air ride, right?" Yeah, we got air ride. And they loaded us with 2 vending machines. They were vending machines for a work site, so they vended the safety glasses and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. But he was sweating that we had air ride
Were they
for these
full?
2 vending machines. They were empty.
Mm.
They were empty. Yeah.
All right.
Delicate stuff in there.
I guess
The mechanics
little pieces
of
of
a
plastic. Or
vending
so.
machine.
I will say this: air ride is way more popular today than it was even when Eric and I started this business. When we got started in, air ride was required for white glove trucks. It was not required for dry vans at FedEx. And so there were quite a few that were still out there on the road
Sure.
that didn't have air ride. We never bought a truck like that, and I never would. But it used to be a very common thing. Even nowadays, a lot of like, you seen these companies? They're buying up old Ryder trucks, old Penske trucks.
Mhm.
They're yellow, and they cut
Yeah.
a sleeper into the front section of the box.
Yep.
If you look at a lot of those are not air ride. Some are, but a lot of them are not. So air ride, like, we take it for granted because we've just always had it. Even when you hauled glass, I'm pretty sure y'all had air ride on those.
Yeah, we did.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
but it's not like industry standard. Look at Amazon trailers. A lot of Amazon trailers don't have air ride. Like, it's super, super common even
Interesting.
still. So I get that concern. Although vending machines, all right. That what that tells me? He had one claim.
Yeah.
The truck didn't have air ride,
Right.
and
And it
that's
was a
he's
problem.
spoiled for the rest of his
Yeah.
life.
Yep.
Yeah, we used to do those because we would do those IBM towers. Those were required to ride an air ride truck. They weren't climate controlled or anything like that, but you had to have the air ride suspension, so they always went white glove.
What if it's
Ah.
like a magnet or a scale
Hated
or
those
something in
loads.
them? Like a magnet or a scale or something in them
It could be
Could be.
that
Yeah.
might throw them off.
Could be.
just electronics, plastic, glass. Who knows? All right. Well, so that's Liftgates for you. I got really nothing else to say about it. I know it's fascinating conversation.
Fascinating.
Fascinating.
Who would think? Who would think we'd have so much to say about a liftgate?
Yeah, right.
We
We all have our experiences with them, though.
yeah.
Very uplifting subject.
Or they've come a long way.
The one, the one time we're fully loaded and get to the consignee, and we had a dozen Marines waiting to unload our truck after we got everything down on the liftgate. The liftgate wouldn't work.
I've had that happen.
Somehow, I don't know what happened, but pushing buttons, and I was on the phone with the trailer shop and trying to troubleshoot it, and I pushed the button and it worked. I was like, let's get this stuff off while it's working. Hang the phone up. Let's get
I
this
have
stuff
some.
off now.
I have some amazing. I have some amazing memories of being on a truck, talking to a shop, and some old redneck country boy's like, "Do you have a screwdriver on you?" "Yes, sir, I do." Thinking I'm about to unscrew something. No. Take it and put it across that terminal and
Yeah,
that terminal,
exactly.
and it's gonna pop. So don't be scared. Like, I've done that a few times. We don't encourage our drivers to do that, but I have done
We
it
do
myself.
not encourage it. As a matter of fact, just last week, a truck came in for a CARB test.
Yes.
And when trucks come in for CARB test, I talk to them. I talk about their truck. I look at their truck. If I see a problem, I point it out. If it's a safety issue, I call maintenance.
Yes.
Hey, this truck is in the yard and it's got X, Y, and Z. This driver is telling me about his liftgate and that it's not working with the switch or the remote. But we got to work. We got to go. We talking to somebody that did something to it. He told me just use a screwdriver and short it out across here, and you're good. You go, yeah, that's the last time you do that.
Yeah.
And I called down to the trailer shop and I said, I got a truck here that's, using the screwdriver to send him down. And he went down and got taken care of.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do not encourage that. If your truck is doing that, please let somebody know so we can get it fixed.
Listen.
Well, we have maintenance that's available 24 hours.
Exactly.
That's
Yep.
what we do.
24/7.
We do.
Solenoids,
365.
solenoids, fuses, and circuit breakers—they're good things.
Mm-hmm. They are. They really are.
But since you mentioned the CARB testing thing, I do want to mention today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is OTR Services. I want to thank OTR Services for helping contribute to keeping this show alive. If you have, we all know, listen, we all feel a way about California.
We do.
And we all understand that they make things difficult and challenging.
They do.
And we all appreciate how pretty the coastline is.
We do.
And the mountains.
Yes. We do.
And Donner Pass.
During the spring.
During the spring and summer. But they do have testing requirements now, if you're not aware. But your truck has to be tested for emissions control systems.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a CARB test. These tests have to be done twice a year in 2025. Next year, they have to be done 4 times a year, every 90 days. It's easy to get those tests done in California. The problem is if you're going to California, you have to have it done before you get in the state.
Yeah.
So we have partnered up with OTR Services to start doing CARB testing in Columbus, Ohio. And they are doing wonderful things for us and helping us get these trucks tested and make sure they're compliant. And if you're out there and you're thinking, I go to California and I don't know anything about this CARB testing stuff, you can go to otrservices.com, check out their website. They've got a bit of information there about California. They've got I believe there's a diagram on there, right, Jerry, that says when you know your truck is due, because not every truck is due all at the same time, right?
Yeah, if your truck is registered in the state of California, they're actually going to go by your registration. If you're not registered in the state of California, it's going to go by the last 6 of your VIN.
Yes. And so there's a little chart on that website. It's otr-services.com.
Yes.
otr-services.com. And they have some information there, and they tell you how they can use their mobile CARB testing to come out and see you all across Columbus. So we want to show some appreciation to them for sponsoring the show and let you know if you do go to California and you're not familiar with this, or if you're driving for a fleet owner and they're not familiar with this, or anything like that, let them know about it. Check it out. The last thing you want to do is go to California. I think it's like $5,000 fine.
It's a huge fine.
It's a huge fine if you get out there and you don't have it done. So it's well worth just getting it knocked out.
Yep.
OTR-services.com. And again, thank you so much, OTR Services, for sponsoring the show.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. That leads us to
Bubba?
Baran.
I don't have anything else really. AI.
Yeah.
It doesn't really.
It doesn't
AI,
go.
yeah.
It doesn't go.
So, Melissa, I saw this article that you sent us, and I like it, and I can't wait to hear you talk about it. I do have one thing to say.
Well, yeah.
Keep in mind, we are filming this before we go to the Mid America Truck Show in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes.
But you were hearing it after we go to the truck show, Mid America Truck Show. So, why this is relevant is this article that you're about to talk about is being featured at the Mid America Truck Show.
I saw.
So, my disclaimer is we reserve the right to come back and change our opinion
Yes.
in 2 weeks.
Yes, we do.
So,
Yes, we do.
yeah, we're going to talk about it now, green,
Yes.
but we may come back and change our opinions
So there,
on
yes.
it.
Correct.
So don't hold us to it.
So, Bubba AI, I'm super excited. He's super cute too. Just want you to know, he's got glasses, cute little mustache.
And he's blue.
So,
Yes.
he reminds me of is it Moriarty, the movie with
Sherlock Holmes.
no, he was a pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh. I don't know.
What's his name? No, there's an actor.
Johnny Depp was in it.
Johnny Depp played Moriarty. In that, this guy reminds me of him.
Oh.
See his picture right here
Huh.
every time.
Okay. So it's Bubba AI is launched for independent truckers and small carriers, and it's an autonomous dispatcher. And I thought this was pretty cool. The tool can search and negotiate for loads while truckers focus on driving. So they're basically talking about how drivers, we're juggling our everyday life. Maybe we can't book our own loads. And this is for people who are using load boards, whereas what Highfield's doing with Panther and FedEx, they're the ones that dispatch it. So you're not looking for your own freight, which is what this app is doing. So I thought this was really neat. It said that it can do manufacture of Bubba AI, demonstrated to freight waves, because that's where the article comes from, how Bubba searches multiple load boards, engages in real-time negotiations with brokers, and validates rate confirmation without human oversight. Like, he's doing it all for you. So I wonder if, like, when you download the app, you tell him what your rates
That's what I was
what
saying.
you'll agree, your lowest, your highest, and then he figures out how to do it. I mean,
That's what I was thinking. There's got to be some guidelines that you're giving it.
Some parameters of
Yeah.
some kind for
Yeah.
different types of rides.
Well, it says that Bubba uses lane data.
I was gonna say that too.
So that's a part of it, is looking at what that lane is paying and negotiating around that, I'm sure, versus just taking a load or overbidding the load. If the lane is paying $1 a mile, Bubba's not going to go in there and negotiate $1.50 or 50 cents. It's going to try and get that best rate for you. But I'm sure you input your own parameters as well.
Sure. Bubba can also push back and seek better rates on behalf of the carrier during the negotiation. Can we just talk about his name? Come on, Bubba. One of Bubba AI's features is its voice-first multilingual capabilities. The AI enables truckers to communicate in their preferred language while translating and relaying their messages to brokers and shippers in English. This helps independent truckers secure fairer rates and better deals regardless of their cultural background.
I thought that was really interesting when I read that,
Yes.
that it's going to do the translation for a driver.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting.
I was kind of curious how that plays into what we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago. Last week, 2 weeks ago. What is time?
2 weeks ago.
This time.
We talked about how drivers are required to speak a certain proficiency of
Sure.
English,
Oh, is that
And-
That's what I
Arkansas?
was curious about.
and so I'm sorry.
That was Arkansas's conversation.
Well,
we had.
that's it was about Arkansas, but it's about like FMCSA requires it
Mhm.
for anybody with CDL. And so when I saw that, my first thought was like, ugh, I don't know. Okay, that seems like it goes counter to what we were talking about with the law. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought like, you know what? You can learn enough English to be proficient to drive,
Sure.
but not be proficient to negotiate.
Sure.
I see where they're coming from. I do see where they're coming from, but it's. I am curious if they're going to get push back on that.
Yeah, that's a possibility, right? What I read here, the cultural background part, helping them get fairer rates,
Sure.
regardless of their cultural background, is if someone with a heavy foreign accent calls and is talking to a broker, and if that broker has a bias,
Sure.
you know,
They get quoted one number versus
exactly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. So this might make that a little bit different.
Yeah.
Now we all know how translation software isn't perfect.
correct.
So there could be an issue there, but I think it
But
kind of
the-
levels the playing field if we're talking about being fair.
Yeah, but the AI thing too has gotten a lot better. Like
Sure.
when I talk to something that I realize is a bot or an AI, it's nowhere near what it used to be. It has certainly gotten way more proficient.
It does say beyond load matching and negotiation, Bubba AI is designed to manage the entire operational ecosystem of a trucking business. Future development plans include an autopilot mode, which will let truckers set preferences and have Bubba AI automatically find, negotiate, and book loads without their direct involvement. Additionally, Hey Bubba, that's the actual name of the company who came out with Bubba AI, is working on integrating AI driven relationship building capabilities, which will help establish long partnerships between carriers and shippers.
I think that's amazing.
We want to highly customize the Hey Bubba experience. Right now, the calls that happen are more transactional. Next, we are building a custom engine which will have a complete relationship driven context.
It's cool. It's interesting to see what's happening with technology and how AI is taking over. Because what they've basically done is they've said, "Hey, small fleet, you don't need to hire a dispatcher anymore.
Right.
We can do this for you." So there's a couple different ways to look at it. There's the we don't have to hire a person, so someone's lost a job aspect.
Sure.
But there's the other side of it, which is it's less of a burden on a startup company, on a small fleet, on being able to, like, if you have a 5 truck fleet and you are hauling cheese out of Wisconsin, then you're probably finding backup loads to get your trucks back
Sure.
every week. Something
Sure.
like this would be great to be able to go in and say, all right, well, this truck's delivering June 2nd. I need to find it a load back so that we can keep this thing going. So
Yeah.
I certainly see a lot of benefit to it.
Can't wait to seek them out at the Mid America Truck
Yeah,
Show and see
I'm
the
excited to see
demonstration.
Yeah,
what
Yeah,
you guys
I'm curious
can,
about that.
how much you can interact with it. And what you
Sure.
I'm too.
Sure.
I am too. I am curious too I will say with the negotiating process, I really want to know how that plays out. Like, I hope there's some follow up because I could see an AI going the wrong way with it, where it's like, all right, we've got a situation where this truck's been sitting for X number of hours. I need to make sure I get this truck a load,
Sure.
and then accepting a load too cheap,
Yeah.
and then the driver gets it and they're like, I don't want to run for that cheap. But you've already accepted the load because you've empowered the AI to do it.
And
So I fear if enough people are on this, does it become a race to the bottom?
Oh.
Of
and
course,
it could.
it could. It could also be the other thing. What happens if it becomes a race to the top?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you've got shippers going, y'all are colluding. A couple different ways you can look at it.
What I'm skeptical about is just that AI is not perfect. It learns from looking at other information, other data.
Correct.
And if there's an anomaly somewhere in your business, how does that affect what the AI does? Will brokers eventually learn that's an AI and not want to deal with it
Or
or
learn
learn
how
how
to
to game
manipulate
it?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions here. I'm curious to see how it works out. But like Melissa said, we'll check them out at Matt's and see what they're talking about.
Jerry, your thoughts? You're techie over there too.
I could see
nice.
that for sure. I think, but you also reading the article said that they could put the driver preferences in. So I'm sure, like I said before, there's got to be those guidelines that it's not going to go outside of that. And AI has gotten really, really good. Have you tried Google Gemini?
No.
No.
It's literally an app you can download on your phone and have a conversation. I literally sit down 2-3 times a week and have a full blown conversation with my phone. a
He's-
conversation like I have with me or you.
Yeah. The
It's
difference is
amazing.
he's
You just scared
cursing
the
us
crap
out,
of me, Jerry.
and
Do what?
Yeah, you just scared the crap out of me with that.
I was
Where's
the
Don,
rookie.
Jeremy?
You've
Talk to
seen the
Don.
rookie with that, right?
I'm with Don 24/7. I don't need to talk
none
to
of
him
us have
anymore.
seen Don in a while.
We haven't.
And
you're
Jerry's
right,
gotten
we haven't
into-
seen Don. in a
Jerry's gotten
while.
big time into AI,
Yes,
so
yeah, interesting.
It's
Interesting.
it's so awesome though. Like if you're like trying to make a decision on something, you can literally talk to it and say, "I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons of this," and it will walk through both sides with you and talk to you like it's your best friend for 10 years
That's interesting.
Okay.
and help you make that decision.
Well, I don't know if anybody's seen the last rookie, but there's the Gemini, or I don't know what they call it on the mission. But this chick was like talking about how she didn't like her friend, and so it walked her through different versions of how to kill her.
Interesting.
I could totally see Buttermilk doing that.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take AI for its
I don't know.
word.
I definitely think there's got to be some safeguards with AI. So I am, concerned about where that leads eventually down the road. But because I could see, you have these parameters, and it's like you tell AI, "Hey, let's slide out those parameters one time just to help me get it," and then does it think
Right.
every time we're in a pinch,
That's the pattern.
and
yeah.
then all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
like, "Wait, why am I always running for 79 cents a mile?"
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
And then I also wonder if it's got like the understanding of where you deliver and the amount of rest time that you need,
right.
and then the amount of time it takes you to get up and get behind the wheel after a pre-trip, and then on your way to the next destination to pick up. Like, does it know, or is it doing like full next day booking? Like, how does it know when you're ready to pick up another load?
Well, the founder of
You know what I'm saying?
Hey Bubba has done other.
He has.
He has experience. It says it has years of experience in the trucking technology space. I'd imagine that he understands hours of service and that kind of thing, and is looking at building that into. This is only my speculation, obviously, looking at building that into it. I mean, otherwise, how does it work? And
Yeah,
it-
because
it
if it's
fails-
booking you a load,
it
but
fails immediately if it books you to pick up a load before you delivered, or
Mhm.
calculating deadhead mileage versus a rest break. So, I'd hope that he's got that in there.
And
Yeah.
some of the stuff too is like a lot of the load board stuff is not time critical. So there's play involved, right?
Sure.
Like if you're running off load boards, you're not calling someone, you're not putting your freight on a load board if it needs to be picked up 9 a.m.
Right
tomorrow
now,
morning.
yeah.
So there's wiggle room, right?
yeah.
That helps, I think.
So how much is this going to cost?
Well, you can get it for 3 free months. I did read that here at the bottom. It said to celebrate its launch, Hey Bubba is offering 3 months of free access to all new users who sign up with their Department of Transportation registered email. This is designed to let independent truckers see firsthand how Bubba AI can impact your daily operations. And then, of course, it'll also be showcased at the Mid-American Truck Show 2025.
I do love that all these tech companies have really learned from the drug dealers. The first taste is free.
Yeah.
Like they've really gotten slick
really
with
have.
that. I mean, nobody buys a television streaming program anymore without getting their first month free. Like,
Yeah,
they've
exactly.
Yeah.
really figured
Exactly.
that out.
Yeah.
Well, it's
But I don't know
interesting-
how much it costs. You'll have to do your own research on that.
Don't know that yet.
And who knows? It could be built into the brokering discussion. They book the load for $2.09 a mile. They pay you $2 a mile.
Right. It could be.
Could be hidden
It
cost.
certainly could be.
Sure.
Robinhood kind of works that way too. If you work on if you work on Robinhood and buy stocks on there, there's a micro gap between when you buy a stock and when it's actually purchased, and they factor their fee into that gap.
Mm.
So, if you buy a stock for 18 cents, it really costs them 17 cents.
Well, that happened. That happened at big brokerages too.
Yeah.
Where you might buy a stock at 18 cents, and the brokerage can buy it at 17 cents.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
The difference is it's very manual. Robinhood's all automatic.
Well, it's mainly because you're calling your broker, and
Yeah.
your broker's doing that for you. But anyway,
But back then,
Anyway.
they were like, I got the stock for $300, and they paid $120 for it.
It's called a spread.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seen it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But
There's a whole movie about it, right? Was it
Boiler Room?
no? Well, maybe. I was
Wolf of
thinking
Wall Street?
Wall Street, yeah, Wolf of
Yeah.
Wall
Wall
Street.
Street.
Cool. Coolio.
Yeah.
Well, it's not available in the App Store yet.
Well, soon. Soon.
Yes. All right. Well, we didn't really publicize Mid America Truck Show. I think next week we're gonna have a little short synopsis of what we did there. We were only there for 1 day, so if we didn't see you, apologize for that. It was a real quick in and out type scenario, and I bought a new camera for it.
Yeah.
Anxious to see how Jerry edits it.
I'm anxious to see how you use the camera.
I'm anxious to see how you use it as well. And
We're gonna come back and we're gonna have like old reel,
Yeah.
clickety clack,
60 millimeter.
I was going to say, I'm bringing the
coffee can pictures. Don't move. Got 10 minutes of standing still.
It's going to be a slideshow of just us in front of one of those old Kodak slide projectors, and we're going to just be talking about it while Jerry videos us doing the slide projector thing. Kind of like back in it was back in like elementary school. They would do the thing where they'd put a picture up on the thing on the projector,
Right.
and then
And
they
you'd go
press
up there.
play, and then you'd hear like a little cassette tell you the story while you're just looking at a
Right.
picture,
Yeah.
and then it would be like beep, and you click the next
Yep.
picture. Yes, I am that
Good
old.
stuff.
Oh, let's hope
Good
we figure out the
stuff.
technology that is.
Absolutely.
I remember when they used to actually have somebody talking while the other person was using a chisel and hammer, and,
Oh
Dictation.
my.
and they were carving pictures in the rock while the person talked about whatever the story was. Yeah, those were the days. Those were
I
the
wonder
days.
if that's what they call giving Dwayne Johnson a tattoo. Anyways. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. Again, thank you, OTR Services, for sponsoring this
What's their
week's
website
show.
again?
It's OTR-services.com. OTR-services.com. OTR
Not the word dash.
dash
The symbol dash.
Yes, services.com. But if you're interested in what we're doing over here at Highfield and you want to chat with us, you can reach out to us at hyfieldtrucking.com. That's hyfieldtrucking.com, HYFIELD trucking.com. If you wish to call us on the phone, Jerry will give you those details.
833-493-4353, option 1, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 833 Highfield.
Yep. And if you need that number and you forgot what it is, it's going to be in the description of this video, I believe. Thank you all so much for supporting us. And if you enjoyed what you saw today, hit us a thumbs up, write us a comment. If you're listening to us on a podcast format, drop us a review on that platform, whichever one you're using. It helps us out, lets other people hear us and learn a little more about us and a little behind-the-scenes peek of Highfield and just who we kind of are as people, and hopefully give you a little entertainment as you go down the road. If you didn't like what you saw, hit that thumbs down button twice. Please do not leave us a review. And in the meantime, until we meet again, stay safe, make good decisions.
Don't leave money on the table.
And keep those wheels a turning.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.